Hello, welcome to the fifth episode of this series in which I am showcasing my new tabletop role-playing game called Parable. My name is Jacob Motl, and let's get into the story. It is the dead of night. Brother Quinn of Farstone, being pursued by a group of cloaked figures, runs through the gate of the walled cemetery in a desperate attempt to not be captured, for it could mean the end of his life. Quinn runs south on the dirt trail, not even daring to look over his shoulder at those pursuing him. In a rush of adrenaline, he makes a decision to cut away from the path and run into the underbrush, hoping he will be able to lose those who are chasing him. Now, as he cuts into the underbrush off of the dirt path, I'm going to have him make an agility roll to see if he's able to slip away, and I guess how quickly as well. All right, 14. His agility is -1, so a total of 13, which is a partial success. So Quinn cuts into the underbrush, and since it's night, there is a little bit of moonlight, but he's now under the cover of the tree canopy above, so it's going to be a lot darker where he's running into. So because of that, I would say with the partial success, he's able to run into the brush, but it's much thicker. There's a lot more foliage. It's much more dense than he was anticipating. It does slow him down a bit, and the cloaked figures do see whereabouts he ran into the brush, and they are going to attempt to follow him into the foliage. Quinn, even though he is a gnome, he is running through the brush, and it is making a lot of rustling. And let's see if I'm going to make a D100 roll to see if the cloaked figures can see where Quinn is, because if the bushes and the foliage is rustling and he's running through it, they might be able to see where he is. However, because it is night and it is under cover of the dense forest, I will say that it is unlikely that they can see exactly where he is. They'd most likely have to rely on sound. So, okay, 82. So they are able to see where he is, and they rush into the underbrush, into the forest. They fan out a bit and they're kind of combing through as they make their way towards where all of the rustling is occurring. So now I'm going to have Quinn make another agility roll, and we will see if he is able to get through the underbrush or if he continues to be slowed down by the thicket. Okay, at 12, -1 is an 11. So that would be a partial success. However, he has enough XP that we can bump it up to a 16. And because he currently has 9 XP, we can spend some of that to bump it up to a 16 for a success, so that he is able to get away from those pursuing him. So 5 XP spent to increase the outcome to a success. Quinn, as he's running, thanks to the adrenaline, he is able to find his footing and look ahead as best as he can in the darkness to instinctively make his escape through the wilderness. And he does so. He's able to get ahead of the cloaked figures as they continue to pursue him. Now, going back to the cloaked figures, are they able to keep an eye, because they did see him and where he was running, but are they able to keep visual contact on his location? We will say again it is unlikely now that Quinn has moved farther ahead. Okay, 96. So they are still able to keep visual contact on Quinn, as even though he's running ahead, he's still rustling through the underbrush, through the leaves, and some of the group at the very least, is able to keep their eyes on him. Going back to Quinn, as he's running and he hears that he is still being chased, it's very likely at this point that he would be looking for a place to hide. So I'm going to have him, whether it's some sort of a fallen log or some sort of burrow or something, and this is a hilly region, so there could be a small cave, something of the like. So I'm going to have him make a focus roll to see if he can spot somewhere to hide. A 3. So no, he does not see anywhere to hide, so I will mark an XP for him. And he continues to run. So I will make another agility roll for him. All right, a 10 minus 1 for his agility would be a setback. I'm going to have him spend an XP to increase the outcome to a partial success. Again, he hits a patch of bramble, some thicket, and that slows him down. This time, however, even though he didn't find a proper place to hide, he is going to attempt to lay prone and crawl slowly into the bramble and just lay still. Now, cutting back to the cloaked figures, again, do they see him where he is slowed down? I'm guessing it is very likely, since they still have visual contact on him. 19, so no, they do not. In the chase, they had visual contact. They could see him, or at least roughly where he was, but he must have run behind a tree, and that's where he was caught up, because they now have lost visual sight of him. Quinn, now laying prone within the bramble, is just going to lie still, not going to move a muscle. He is covering his mouth with his hand to mitigate any sort of noise coming from heavy breathing, and he's going to keep his senses, his eyes and his ears, hyper-focused on where the cloaked figures are searching. And Quinn does hear the cloaked figures approaching the vicinity. I will have Quinn make a focus roll. Another 3, plus 1 for his focus. So that's a 4, that is still a setback. I will mark his XP. As Quinn is lying there, motionless, he does hear the cloaked figures approaching the area, but he can't tell exactly where they are searching, where they're stepping. There are a handful of them, and amongst the other sounds of nature and the rustling of the leaves above from the wind, it's hard for him to exactly tell where they're stepping. But he is going to lay there, waiting and hoping for them to give up and leave. Now, are the cloaked figures able to pick up any of Quinn's trail? Because they are in the vicinity of where they thought he was, and where they last saw kind of his whereabouts, but they have now lost exactly where he is. So are they able to see anything indicating either if he left the area or if he's hiding somewhere? And I will say, since it's a very dense part of the foliage and it is night and he is a little gnome, I'm gonna say that it's unlikely that they'll see any sign of him. 57, so they do not see any sign of him. They spend some time looking. Several seconds turn to several minutes. Quinn lies there just holding his breath. Just outside of the bramble where Quinn is hiding, he sees the bottom of one of the cloaks of the figures just stop as the figure looks around, or so Quinn assumes. And since Quinn is attempting to remain stone still and dead quiet, I'm going to make a focus roll for him. 13 plus 1 is 14, and I'm going to have him spend 2 XP to bump it up to a 16 for a success. Quinn successfully lies there motionless, and for tens of seconds, the cloaked figure stands, waiting, listening for any sign or sound of who they are pursuing. After more than a minute, and what seems like forever to Quinn, the cloaked figure moves on and continues searching. So at this point, after a few minutes of searching at the very least, and not coming up with anything, I would say that it's 50-50 chance that the cloaked figures are going to give up the search and go back to the walled cemetery. So a 17. So no, they do not give up the search just yet. They continue to look. And after more minutes of not finding anything, it's possible that they would move on to other areas of the forest, kind of away from this location where Quinn is hiding. So I will say it is likely that they're going to move on. So a 10. So no, they do not move on. They continue to search this area, much to Quinn's dismay. Another of the cloaked figures walks by the bramble where Quinn is laying, and just as the cloaked figure passes by the bramble, Quinn hears a faint whoosh through the air as the cloaked figure falls to the ground, writhing in pain. What sounds like several people whistling to each other in some sort of communication starts to echo among the trees. Quinn hears the cloaked figures shouting in that language unknown to Quinn as he hears more whoosh, whoosh through the trees, and a couple more of the cloaked figures fall in agony. Quinn, unsure of what is happening, continues to lie still and motionless. He hears what sounds like people running through the brush towards where he is, and just moments later he hears what sounds like the unsheathing of swords and a brief but decisive struggle. He then hears more whistling, first from those who are nearby, and then, only a few seconds later, a response from much farther away. Now, whoever these individuals are, do they know that Quinn is there? We will say it is 50-50. 92, so yes, they know that Quinn is there. Now, do they know exactly where he is hiding? We'll say again 50-50. Okay, a 70. So, yes, they do know exactly where Quinn is hiding. Quinn, unsure of what just happened, remains motionless, just as he has been, and he hears whoever they are, one of the individuals, approaching where he's hiding. And just outside of the bramble, where the first cloaked figure fell, Quinn sees a pair of strong, muscular legs wearing leather and fur-lined boots. They stop right there. Quinn holds his breath, unsure of what's about to happen. The individual crouches down and looks into the bramble. They remove their hood to reveal that they are a dark-haired woman with soft features, kind eyes, and she smiles at Quinn as she says, "You're safe now. Come with me." And that is where this episode will conclude. Quinn will gain 1 XP for surviving this episode. There was a strand from the previous episode, which was Shake the Cloaked Figure's Pursuit. I would say that Quinn didn't do that. He hid from them and he is no longer in pursuit by them, but that is because the individuals who showed up were the ones who disposed of the cloaked figures. So I would say that strand is complete, but Quinn does not gain any XP from that strand being complete. There are still several active strands, such as avoiding the gang of bandits known as the Red Wolves and protecting Darren from the Red Wolves, as well as saving Darren from the mausoleum, learning about the cemetery, and learning about who the cloaked figures are. Those are still active strands, but none of them were relevant to this episode, but they have potential to be relevant in later episodes. In the next episode, which will be episode 6, we will find out who these individuals are. If they are heroes of the realm, maybe they are Red Wolf bandits. They could just be a band of ragtag adventurers who happen to see Quinn being chased in the dead of night and decided to rescue him. But we will find out in the next episode. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.